It's okay. The one after this is a little more classroomy, and I give you lots of resources. This one is really designed. I travel all over the world. I talk to kids. I talk to maybe 50,000 kids a year. So in that role, a lot of times I'll have the high school kids, and we're talking about what kids do with their technology. And I feel like today's kids are raising themselves on digital playgrounds, and no one's on recess duty. And so I think it's real important that we talk to parents, that we talk to, get stakeholders involved in their kids' lives. So what I'm about is getting kids to build a positive digital resume that when I Google you, I hire you, instead of the opposite, where I Google you and I fire you, because that's what's happening without driver's ed. So this is really about that. How do you build a career using technology, using social media and all of that stuff? So you can use this any way you want to. And if there's anything in here that's interesting to you, you got it. I'll give it to you free. Use it any way you want. I'd be honored if you did. I stole most of it from someone else anyway. But you can Google a lot of this stuff here. So the idea is, how do you go from Kansas? And that's what I did. I was a teacher in Kansas, in Inman, Kansas. You can Google that, 1,100 people in that tiny little town. I was the art teacher, so I was the only art teacher in that town. And I taught K-12. So I drove back and forth between buildings and did all the grade levels and all of that. So did that for 13 years, and then I got hired to do staff development. And I did all the art teachers in Kansas. And my boss said, "You're done. I'm going to have to fire you unless you build yourself bigger than this." I'm like, "What's that mean? What do I even do? So I started talking about online safety, cyberbullying, and started building myself up more content. Built a website. But I needed to get out farther than Kansas. I needed to get to Nebraska and Iowa and other states in the country. So I built a podcast. It was called Driving Questions in Education. And how I did it is I had a laptop like yours sitting over here, and I would talk to it like it was my wife in the car. So I'm driving down the road. I just read a book. I talk about the book and what it meant to me in education. So I start that, and it kind of picks up steam. And then I started interviewing authors and famous people. This is a GMC with a cassette tape player, right? But it had an adapter that would go to my computer. So I'm talking to Daniel Pink now. He has a New York Times best-selling book. I'm talking about the implications of his book with education. Well, Daniel loved the interview and told his 1 million followers to follow my podcast, and I went to #1 in the country and stayed there. So I just kept interviewing famous people. And this is what I tell kids. You want to get famous? Interview famous people. And here's the question you ask. What do you wish people would ask you? That will make you famous, because they're going to go, oh my gosh, no one ever asked that question. They always ask me the same stupid questions. And so they're so happy with the answer they give you to that question, they tell everyone to follow you. So suddenly you kind of grow your stature that way. So that's kind of what I did. And I get out there and I start talking on stage. And it's scary because there you are, you're the 1 hour keynote. This is my life. Now I taught school, so to me it's still teaching. It's just amplified. You have 1 hour. You have 1 hour to own that room and leave them with something they didn't have when they walked in. I call it brain splinters, stuff they can't forget. It's going to happen tonight. And since you're here, are you going to be here for the second session? I think it's right after this one, I think. I'm not sure. I have to look. It's going to be a lot more like tonight. It's more of if teachers show up, I want to give them a lot of what I'm going to give tonight at 7 o'clock. So that's one that would be good if you want to be there. What's the topic of the I think it's helping kids climb, and it's about helping kids from poverty and from hard places kind of find their way in the world. And a lot of my themes are going to be that way today. That's kind of my own story. Let's do it then. Let's do it. So yeah, I feel like this is... So typically the people who come to this are people who want to be a keynote speaker, or people who are trying to grow their website, grow their brand, whatever they're doing. So this is kind of about that. So I'm going to jump in here and talk about this. So as you start doing this, I think the most important thing is a lot of people will launch into orbit and have this great thing happen to them, but they don't have a guidance system. And this is musicians who are on the road who lose their family, lose who they are, lose their marriage, because they don't know who they are. And so the most important thing is you have to ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want to be true in 10 years, 20 years? Where do you want to be? And out there on the road, I meet other people who do what I do, and I just see lost people. People who die in their hotel room alone because they've lost home. It's important to know why you're here. For me, it's I want to stand in front of kids, stand in front of teachers, say some things that make them love their life and want to be better and want to find out more and grow, that kind of thing. So what I have people do typically, and you can do this on your computer if you want to, but what are your goals? As a teacher, 13 years in, what are your goals? And I want you to think about this. And I want you to tell me what you think those things are. And if you want to understand what that means, like, what do you wish was on your tombstone? If you died and didn't get to choose, what do you hope people write? Right? I want you to think about what that might be. I'm going to give you mine, and I'll give you a little time to think of yours, okay? Kevin Honeycutt, he was a husband. He was a father. He wasn't the smartest guy in the room, but he worked hard. He came from hard places, and he shined a light in dark places. He taught kids to find their way. Oh, that's the one I want right there. So if you think about what encapsulates you, what difference you want to make, can you put those into words? And this is an exercise you can do with kids too, in a different way. But what do you think? And you too, you're in the audience. I want to know what you think.
I'm not going to be able to say this eloquently since I'm just kind of coming
Sure.
out. But daughter, mother, and something about compassion, because I feel like that's one of my spiritual gifts that I show to my students is compassion. Known for her compassion towards students, showing the love of Jesus, showing it, but not knowing, they don't know I'm showing it.
That's
I
right.
have to be so careful about those things, but walking in a godly manner, something about compassion and showing the love of Christ to my students.
I love it. I love it. You know, I've been all over the world, and a lot of times I'm not allowed to say what I want to say, but I still lay it between the lines, and Christians come up and go, oh, you're a believer, aren't you? And I'm like, we don't have to whisper, yes, I am. But there's always a way. And to me, I don't know about you, but there's a handful of people I've met in my life that made me believe more in God because of the way they act. Not what they said. It was never what they said. It was how they acted. One of those people was Dr. Freeze. Do you know Doc? Just one of the nicest guys I ever met. And I thought, he makes you want to, he confirms me, you know what I mean? And I think that's what I think you're getting to there too, that compassion and that living in that way that makes kids see. There's a glow, I think, on things. And you remember it, you know? What do you got? You're going to be building product, right? And what will you do for people through that product?
I do either marketing like videos for them, like help them furnish their thing, or like I said, I was like a film kid, so maybe just like make an important film or maybe an important short film.
So she's talking about.
Director.
Go ahead.
Maybe great director.
Great director. Okay, so I've got to tell you, I've had a few students that I've taken through filmmaking and got into their careers. And I used to be a wedding videographer. And I didn't just want to be a guy that points a camera. That camera's on, there's no one there. It's doing its job. But I wanted to bring more than that. I want to find out who the bride is, who's the mom, what's the story of this wedding, how'd they meet? How do I tell that through the lens? I don't just want to do video, I want to do art. And now that pays for my art, because the wedding video is awesome, but it's not my art. My art is this documentary I've worked on over here and the script and all of that, and this pays for that. You know, in the Renaissance, we had patrons who would pay Michelangelo so he could pay his bills while he created beautiful things. We probably won't have a patron. So what we got to do is be our own patrons. So the workaday stuff you do that people love, and why they're going to hire you and not him, is because you find out who they are. You translate people through the lens, and that's rare compared to a lot of people. So I want you, when you go deep into what your goals are, you said you're a people person. Awesome, make sure that's part of what you do, you know what I mean? And that, I think when you ask people questions about themselves, they love it. They want to tell you everything, you know. The mother of the bride wants to talk to you. Everyone wants to talk to you. Okay, so how about you? Legacy.
That I make difference in people's lives.
See?
See, at my age, it's simplified.
Right, right. And see, that sounds general, but I think that's a guiding principle that can fit everywhere, right? That's what I want to. That's what I want to. So I was in New Jersey 4 days ago talking to kids, 300 kids in the audience. And they all got on stage and we danced and we talked about online safety. We talked about choices that kids make. We talked about some beautiful kids who do great things to make the world a better place, and they live their faith, but they do it boldly and they live out loud, and these kids were inspired. And then I'm off to San Diego talking to 500 teachers who teach kids, and that's my job. And so I become what God needs next. I don't even know what I'm going to say. There's many times I'm like, the words are coming out and they're not mine. I'm like, I know he's here because he's talking through me. I'm just a vessel if I allow that. But some people, they have a hard time sort of opening up and letting that happen, that flow. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it feels amazing, right? It's like you're floating or something. And it's also a little exhausting because when you're done, you're like, whew, and I'm spent. But you do it again the next day. So what I wish was true is that I could make my mark on the world. I could be something for other people, like what you said there. So here's and this is going to come into your life too, and this is your classroom too. I ask people sometimes, a lot of people live their life right next door to what they're supposed to be doing. Their calling is here, but they're living over here. And it's almost the same, but not quite, enticingly near what they really want to do. So I started asking people, if you were a Swiss Army knife, how many blades would you have? So some people say I'm a teacher, and she sees one blade, but there's many, 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 many more blades than that in an average day in an elementary classroom. Or you, when you're being that videographer, there's a lot of ways you can approach things. So what are some of those blades that you bring to bear? And everybody in the room is part of this conversation. So Wendy, too, I'm going to use you, too, because I know in your job, you're not a one-trick pony. You've got to be a lot of things to a lot of people. So what are the blades? This is just a little general discussion. So anyone got some ideas about that?
Well, I can film and edit, and I have like experience with like different editing programs, I guess.
What are your favorite? What are your edit?
Oh, sorry. I can do camera work. I can like troubleshoot most cameras. I think I do. And then I can do different editing programs and like graphic programs for editing. I started with iMovie, if you didn't. iMovie is the easiest to use, but then I used Avid, which is like two very different.
Right.
And then now I'm using Premiere, which is a little.
Adobe. Right.
But I don't know.
Are you learning those things here?
So I'm learning Adobe here, but Avid I learned in high school.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
and I'm using iMovie here too because I'm on the newspaper team.
Wow.
And so I make videos
Cool.
for the newspaper and stuff. So people like watching those videos, and when I
Mhm.
told them that we have the possibility of not having newspaper continued next year, but I think we're going to get it renewed. They were like, no, I like the videos. No, I like this. And so I'm like, oh wow, so I made kind of an impact. And I'm just a freshman too, so.
I like
Sorry,
the.
I ramble.
No, I'm glad she started talking, and louder too, because I can barely hear. iMovie, I started with iMovie too. I started actually a little before iMovie back in the day, but I love iMovie because it reminds me of a Kodak camera that you can't control. You just point it and shoot. I used to teach photography. I started kids with Kodak camera because there's a million angles of the art you can do through a fixed lens. That's iMovie. It's simple, but it's quick. You can have a video in no time. The templates make it dead simple. That's awesome. You get to Avid, you're getting into industry standard, which is awesome. Then you get into Premiere, which is industry standard. Rock on. Now the thing is, you can go down that technical road and be the best techie, filmmaker in the world and get shoehorned into that slot. But I want to make sure you preserve the artist in you. Do you write scripts? Do you storyboard? That part of it.
Going back from high school, like I can do fictional and documentary and like what's it called? We did something for C-SPAN too, like where it was like I don't know what it's called. It's basically documentaries, but it's like more like it's like a research paper on video. That's basically how our teacher described it. We have to do stand-ups and stuff, lots of research. So I have.
What school did you go to?
Jinx High School in Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So God is telling me something about you. He's saying, Kevin, push her a little bit. Because right now, if I said, I want to see your whole resume right now, send me a link real quick. Is it out there to find? Is it all in one place? Now, you don't have to do this right now. I'm going to get to this more in here, okay? Okay. So over here with you, 13 years. You probably have tons of resources. Mm-hmm.
I do have a lot of blades, besides being a teacher and a mentor to other students, and not to sound arrogant, but I do feel anointed in teaching. I do feel like I kind of have an anointing from the Holy Spirit, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it. But really what I'm most proud of is that I brought an awareness of veterans to the Ottawa Public Schools. I planned a really big assembly this past November. We've never had one that big. 2 veterans came in and spoke to us, and
Wow.
the students sang a song. I have brought to Ottawa, we are going to have veterans flags up and down Main Street starting in October. I was able to bring that to the community, and I've had help too, so I don't mean I. And then I've also been able to coordinate it when we put up our display at the end of October in City Park. We have one of the best displays, I think, in the country. It just, especially at night, it just makes me cry when I see it at night. It's so beautiful.
See, when Wendy's nodding her head, I know it must be true.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I talked to Dr. Cobbs, our superintendent, and the principals, and we're going to bus kids over to City Park, and I'm gonna have flag holding, I'm gonna ask the National Guard. So I really feel like I am being called to a leadership type role. I feel like I need to start getting out of the four walls of my classroom. Like, it's time for me to move away from the classroom. I was talking to my life coach, and I said, I feel very anointed in teaching, and I probably shouldn't leave. And my counselor said, my life coach said, that is very arrogant of you to say that you are really good at teaching, so you can't leave. He goes, can't God bless someone else in your classroom and then use your talents other places? I said, yes. I said, thank you for saying that. Yes, it is arrogant of me to say that.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. He can bless someone else in my classroom. I feel like it's time for me to move on.
Wow.
I don't know how to move on. I'm stuck.
Oh, man. Okay, so I feel uniquely qualified to coach you a little bit. But first of all, I like your life coach's advice. He turned it on its head in this way that made you really think about it. He could have said, you need to do this, and you would have felt preached at. But no, He didn't do that. He invited you to some interesting thinking, and that is good. Sometimes that's what you're supposed to do. I feel like I stayed in the classroom a few years too long, and it was because kids kept saying, Mr. Honeycutt, just stay till I graduate. Well, look at me. I look like a husk. I look like, I stayed too long. But I got all this classroom experience, and I'm using all of it. See, everything you are, you're going to paint with it everywhere you go from now on. But you're feeling this call. Do you know Marcy Penner? Okay, that's someone I want you to write down. Marcy Penner, Marci Penner. She started the Kansas Sampler Foundation. She lived just miles from my house. Milford was her dad. And they did all this publishing in New York. They made these Kansas travel guides. If you've ever seen in a truck stop a Kansas travel guide, it's probably them. So she goes to every little city in Kansas, and she's an advocate for small towns, small places, small culture, beautiful culture. She is a mentor. I'm just telling you, if you're going to go on this trip, and by the way, another one's sitting right back there, the stuff I've done in research on Wendy and her advocacy for Ottawa and the Boys and Girls Club, and she goes beyond. She's standing there, and she's that person behind the ribbon cutting back here, and she's the one, you know what I mean? So she's that selfless person. So I think your people are right here in the room, probably. But if you're feeling that already, I think that's God going, come on, girl. You're a little too comfortable. And someone will take care of it. It's hard. I cried when I left the classroom. They wrote me letters. I cried again like a baby. I knew someone was supposed to come along, and that was my job too. So I don't doubt maybe some of this will help you. So this is usually a 2-day seminar, this thing I'm doing right here. So I'm rushing a little bit, but if you want this whole presentation, you got it. I'll make it downloadable on my website. Wendy will give it to you. So the idea here is I'm a good teacher. I didn't know I was going to be a keynote speaker, but it's right there. It's on the same knife. It's just a different blade, right? So you talking in front of people, you've been doing that. You getting people to want something, you've been doing that. It's also called sales, right? So you can just keep saying, what do I want to do? Do I want to be a filmmaker? Do I want to be an author? Do I want to be a podcaster? Podcasting is the easiest on-ramp to getting famous and getting known and getting hired there is. Anyone can do a podcast right now. In the next 10 minutes, we could be live. So if you want to get your stuff out there, and it sounds like your audience likes your stuff, rock on, girl. You got stuff. Now, I just want to be able to send some, let's say that I'm talking to someone in New York that's a filmmaker and wants to find some people for an internship. Man, I've got your person right here with me, and I still know you. You gave me your business card, or you didn't. I want to show him in the elevator between the first floor and 6th floor that he needs to get you, but I have nothing to show him. So one of the things I want you to do is corral all your stuff and make it easy for people to land there, and a call to action on the page. A 30-second video that makes them go, interesting. Never give them a 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute. No one wants that. 30-second, maybe 15 you are allowed, maybe. Don't make it auto-launch. Give them the choice, right? So there's this passion moment. They land on your page and they find you. And people who are interested will go deep, and they will want to see everything you've done. I got people who Google me, watch every presentation I've ever done on stage, all the way back to when I had hair. And by the time I meet them, they know me. It's weird, but they're like, oh, your first kid, Ben, he started that 501c3. Is he still building schools around the world? Yes, it's a little scary, but I gave them the information because the world is collecting your stuff, and it's going to tell everyone who you are unless you do. So one thing, if you're going to transition, I want you to start thinking about, what does your home base website look like? What would that look like? How could you build it? Where's a place where they could find you read your blog. And by the way, do you have a blog or do you have a journal? Okay, I want you to start thinking about what that looks like, because people kind of want to know who you are. Why did you do the veterans thing? What made you want to do that? You know, how do you grow kids who grow up and want to be like you and make it sustaining, right? If people can't find it, you know? I mean, we have a Bible because we can follow all the things that Jesus did and all that, you know what I mean? Because where's your Bible? So I want you to start thinking about what journaling would. For me, I did it with audio because I'm not the best writer. I'm dyslexic. I call it Lex Dixit. Doesn't that make sense? So I just would do a journal in the car, and I would do chapter after chapter after chapter. And a lot of that was just for me to listen to a year from now to see if I kept my promises to myself. Did you do what you said you would do? Here's another thing. Make a list of 5 things you hope you're doing in a year. Put them in an envelope and don't open it for a year. And then check in on yourself and say, did I keep my promises? That's what growth looks like, right? So what I have people do with the Blades thing is, what are your 5 best skills or talents? And Wendy, I want you to try this. What are your 5 best skills or talents? And they can be things you almost could do. Or if I said, Wendy, if you learn this in 6 months, I'll give you $1 million. Anything that you could do for $1 million, you can do. You just have to want to. So it might not be things you can do right this minute. Doesn't mean you can't do it, right? So what are your 5 best things? And
I would say for me, I'm sincere. I'm trying to think as I relate to how other people see me too.
Mhm.
Why have I been successful?
right, right. See, that's an attribute, and attributes can lead to talents. I think your talent with people comes from sincerity. And the reason people listen to you and want to work with you is because you're nice. You know what I mean? And that's not a small thing. You know what I mean? A lot of people see nice as vulnerable. I think vulnerable is okay. I think that's the best place to be, is vulnerable. You don't always have to be the overbearing control person. You know, you nudge things along.
I think I'm versatile. That's probably simply because
You
I'm
are.
nice up until the point someone is a bully, and then I'm right back in the same space.
But you are this.
I'm a skill blade when it comes to, I'm a good negotiator. Because I'm looking for a win-win
Right.
with everybody.
And this sounds like a similar skill set to what you're cultivating too. The corkscrew lets you pull that plug out and get things moving. A lot of times it's jammed up and you got to have some way to,
I'm disciplined.
right. You're going to make it happen. That's just, that's who you are. So, okay, this is for everybody. And I usually I'm talking to 50 teachers in the room or 100 teachers in the room. But I say, what training, sessions, keynotes, potential products align to your talents, expertise, and authority? What goes with what you already are? What lives next door to what you already are? Like, do you write grants, Wendy? See, that lives next door to the passions that you already have. You're probably going to need to do that too, for some of the passions that you have to make that stuff move along. Do you have a passion for publishing online? Are you on what different social media platforms can I find your stuff on?
So for the stuff that I make for the newspaper, which is more like fun videos, I mean, I've made some more serious videos, but they're all like on our newspaper's Instagram. And we used to upload to YouTube, but we're seeing that like it wasn't getting lots of views, so we kind of just kept posting on the Instagram instead. But the videos that are on the YouTube, I've linked onto my YouTube page where I have a whole playlist of my like films and stuff.
Okay, so before I'm out of here, I want links to I want to go see what you've got there. I want to look at all that. So I'm going to give you guys a business card. My business cards are guitar picks. And again, it's all about sticking in people's minds, because no one throws away a guitar pick, but all my information is on there. And I'm so old I can't read it myself, but people don't throw it away. So I've gotten, like I just did a conference in San Diego, I've gotten 8 inquiries for jobs just because of these guitar picks. And also I wear this hat. You know why I wear the hat? And everything's, I'm giving you all my trade secrets, friends. Look, see this? I'm in a room full of 500 people. Find the guy in the hat. That's the guy you're going to hire. This is money. Believe it or not, I got to stand out from all the other bald guys with a beard, and there's a lot of them, by the way. I need something to kind of juice that thing up. Okay, I'm going to keep cruising here. So expertise and authority. Here's what I've learned. Expertise doesn't guarantee authority. You can stand on stage and be the biggest expert in the room, bore everyone to death, and everyone leaves. I was in New Zealand doing a national conference in New Zealand. I'd done my homework. There's another keynote speaker, and he's got expertise. He's so good. right? I have to have authority. I might not have the expertise. I don't have a PhD. I have a bachelor's degree from Ottawa University, and I make it work, baby. So I'm up there, and I'm winning them over, and I'm winning authority with them because I know about the Maori people, I know about their culture, I know about their history, I know where I'm at, and I pay homage to that. I dress like I'm there. I chameleonize that room, and I own it. Standing ovation, that bad boy. Then the other American got up there, and he was an expert. He starts delivering content, wonk, 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 wonk. Half of the teachers walked out. Half of 1,000 people walked out during his keynote. He was back at the hotel morning in the bar. I walked by, he said, "You!" I said, "What?" "You're the other keynote." "What did I do wrong?" Can you imagine? If I tell him, he's going to hate me. But why should I tell him? I mean, what should I do? I told him. I said, you didn't take 5 minutes to get to know the audience, to connect with them, to bond with them. You just started downloading content. And that's what the PhD who hired you wanted, but that's not what the other 1,000 people wanted. You didn't have their permission. He still hates me. I told him the truth. I took some time. I was funny. I was self-deprecating. I'm Joe Pesci and Robin Williams in one package, and they liked that. So it's about the authority. So for you, the authority, I think you, it's sincerity. For you, it's the body of work. I got to be able to find it quick. And I'm quick. I'm really fast. If I'm talking to you at a conference and you say you're a filmmaker, in 5 minutes, I'm going to know. All right, in 10 minutes, I'm really going to know. And then I'll know if I should try to get you hired or if I could put you in my network and try to get you some opportunity. I love helping young people. And the older you get, the more you want to help, don't you? It's like your legacy. You could be my daughter probably, and you could be my granddaughter for sure. And I just see it that way, so I want to help people, right? So how are expertise and authority alike, and how are they different? You can have expertise and authority if anyone cares what you think. If no one cares what you think, you got expertise. That's the Kansas State Department of Education. A lot of those people, they'll certify you as a teacher, but you don't want to listen to them do a speech. It's the same speech they've been doing since, what, 89? So, yeah, okay, I'm going to keep cruising here. So, short, potent description. I go to your website, and I want to read your short, potent description. You need this for sure because you're going to be hireable, right? You're going to need this because grant people might want to work with you, but they have to see quickly. They don't have time. No one has time. It's going to be fast. Short, potent description. So what is yours? I'm going to give you mine, okay? I worked hard to become an educator, change agent. I present to over 100,000 educators, entrepreneurs, and business people every year. I'm an art teacher, and I give you all these things you can like. If you're a teacher, you're going to like me because I'm an art teacher, right? I'm a musician. If you're a musician, you're going to like me because I play guitar. I'm using everything. Former school board member, in case you need authority. 10 years of that. Published author. Yes, I have a book. It's on Amazon. I'm an author. Are you? See, people can't judge you when you start to have some stuff. Now, wait a minute. I wanted a book. I have dyslexia. I can't write a book. Yes, I can. You know what I did? I talked a book. Chapter by chapter, I told stories. Then I just turned it into the writing. And that's how I have a book. And you might not like that, but it's on Amazon. And where's yours? Okay? So that's why I tell the audience is, look, kids today, if they can talk, they can write. Talking is writing with your mouth. That's the thing I'm famous for saying, and it's the thing I'm famous for doing. So I have a book. It's out there. I'm an Apple Distinguished Educator. That's kind of a big deal in the world of education. I won the Make It Happen Award. I put it all on there. I have 60,000 education industry and business followers on Twitter, almost 9,000 connections on LinkedIn. And I put the followers on there because if you're in social media, you know what this means. If you're not, you don't know, but it doesn't make you hate me. It just makes you go, God, he spends a lot of time on these things. This is what makes my money. This is where my income comes from. This is where the grant comes from. This is where you find out about the grant in Cleveland, and they want to partner with you in Kansas, and it brings $500,000. You know what I mean? You know exactly what you've got to be out there. You got to have a hook in the water to catch a fish, right? This is my hooks in the water. I have almost 2 million views on my YouTube channel. Right now, you said your content wasn't getting views. That's up to us, man. We got to get people there. I think your stuff is good. Everything that you have as evidence says you're good at what you do. The only thing missing is audience. So we got to get out there and be a carnival barker. I was a carnival barker for one summer. It's the most I've learned in my whole life. I only got paid if people rode my ride. And I had to get out there and make them want to ride my ride, make it more fun than it really was. And I did well. Because they take the tickets that you have and you cash them in and they pay you based on how many people did that. Oh, did I learn some stuff. And we went to 100-mile range of small towns in Kansas. You learn a lot about human nature. I wouldn't say be a carny very long. Anyway, and so I could talk to, like right now, if I was just at a conference in San Diego, and I'm live tweeting, but I start with Instagram. Are you on Insta? Who all's on Insta? So Insta can be, like, let's say that you're just a wife and a mother and a teacher on Instagram. That's fine. Because people, when they find you, they're going to say, oh, she's real. It's fine to be authentic. Now, you might start a business account. I kind of put them all in one place. I'm a dad everywhere I go. I want them to know I'm real. My wife likes me. I've been married 33 years, and I love my wife. I love my family. That's part of where I come from, right? And I'm honest about that. So I think it's okay. But if you're on there, I forward to Twitter. I forward to Facebook. So with one click, I hit nearly 60,000 people with one Instagram post. So what do I post? Nice quotes, inspirational Bible verses, a great story about the girl who raised $60,000 for homeless people with her Kool-Aid stand. People need good news right now. It's a dark world. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. So I collect good news, curate it, and send it to people. So what they do is they get used to, Kevin's the guy I get that from. And then every once in a while I slide in a push. And a push is me trying to get hired. Sorry, but I do have rent, so you got to do that too. And people will forgive me, but it's 10 to 1. Inspirational, push. Inspirational, push. And some people overdo it. Push, they stop following. So you can't just constantly beat people to death with your sign, whatever that is. But whenever you're doing something, I think part of that has to be how excited you are about the project and what a difference this is going to make. And as you're working, little snippets of your project before it's done. Let's say that you just finished a project, right? And you want lots of people to see it. I'm going to say freeze time, go back in time and act like it's not done. What do you mean? Trust me, okay? We're going to tease this. We're going to pre-buzz the project. Even though it's done, see how you can control this? And you can say, just working on a project, a music video for these kids. It's such a cool idea. More to come. And they're like, whoa. Oh, here's a little bit of video of that cow that we got. You'll see how it fits later. And they're like, oh, she's crazy. What's she doing? And before long, they feel like, oh my gosh, I know her. I feel like I know her. I saw it before she even came out with it. The truth is, I didn't. It's just that you made me feel, you brought me along. And that's what every movie does with a trailer. That's what a trailer is. A lot of us don't do that, right? So how do I get people to donate to your cause for the veterans, the new thing you're doing? Get them to feel like they were there from day one. Go back, slow down. Whenever you get out there and you have no followers and no views, you went fast, right? And the chances that someone's going to find you now, it's harder. Now, I'd say with your videos, I want a second shot. I want to get them all together again and re-release them. And I do this with all my stuff. I go on TikTok. It's over on TikTok. It's on TikTok because I can speed up my art drawing videos. So kids are drawing them. They don't draw fast. What they do is just let them play and let them play and let them play and let them play. And before long, they can really draw a shark, right? I had them on YouTube in normal time. I put them everywhere. And I recirculate every couple of years because there's a ton of people who haven't seen any of this yet. It's fresh for them. So don't be shy about doing that, right? So basically I'm saying, and I want you to think about this. Go home tonight and I want both of you, you might think of it as a resume. Would you see this as a resume? But it's more than that. This is actually way too long, right? But on my website, I'm trying to catch, I got hooks in the water for everybody. Business over here and, teachers over there and whatever. So it doesn't have to have that many hooks, right? Okay, so what's yours? I want you just to think about in your head, what's that going to look like? And it might start with your stats, start looking at what you've done, what you've shared, the YouTube videos. How many videos do you have? Hmm.
So upwards of almost 12 total just this school year for freshman year, just for the newspaper video. But yeah.
Hmm.
And those are so fun, creative videos, kind of not like man on the street interviews, but kind of like that. It's kind of just oh hey, who would win, 20 linemen or one gorilla, stuff like that. We would have a video of that. So stuff like that, but then my films, from high school that are more professional. Maybe 8.
How old are you? Is it okay to ask? 18. So you're 18 and you have a body of work. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, right? And we're going to build on that. I think we can build on that. And the more you show you're versatile, it's even better. Because in my life, what I've discovered is my opportunities never came from where I thought they were. I put it out here, and someone called from this oblique angle here and wanted something that wasn't even what I did. And I ended up making money that direction. I wanted this, but I got that. So it's nice to be open so people can find you from whatever. It could be a local commercial, something that seems so boring. My friend Sean, he's my former student, and makes good money doing wedding videos, very artful wedding videos. He's found himself a niche that's more than just videos, right? Because he's an artist and he's a filmmaker and a dad and a husband and just a great guy. And by the way, I know a lot of people, and if it happens that my connections could help you, one thing I found is, man, don't waste connections, especially people my age. We're ready to help people your age. I want to see you. I'm Yoda. I'm going back to Dagobah. I'm going to go find my place, man. And I want to see you be the next Jedi. A lot of us feel that way, right? So while I'm out there on stage, I've already set up my tweets in advance. I've set up my Instagram in advance, and I have them auto-posting. Or I hire Wendy. She's in the back of the room ghost tweeting as me live. It's so funny because I'm in front of everybody talking, right, 1,000 people, and I'm also tweeting, but it's really her just posting and posting. So excited, a little bit nervous. The woman in the front row has a cool blue blouse. Everyone's like, how is he doing that? Do you have a brain implant? But it makes them think, it makes them whatever. And I'm bragging about the person who hired me, and I'm talking about how exciting it is to be here with the workforce. I was just at World of Work conference. It was so cool. It's all about helping little kids from the time they're grade school all the way up, see careers as something really, really cool. I've never seen anything quite like it. And this, I'd like to take you all with me to see what this looks like. So when people start to realize your authority, new things become possible. Before long, you're having bigger conversations with people with deeper pockets, and stuff starts to happen in your life, right? So I'm going to jump past here to this here. Okay, image, and this is a thing I've been working on lately because I've been using AI to try to look more interesting because I know what I look like, right? So if you, and I would like you to try this if you've got a device right now. If you don't, do it on your phone. What I want you to do is Google your name and click images. Google your name, and click images. This usually surprises people, but I want you to try that. Hold on, let me move my slide over because it got in the wrong place. Hello. I'm going to try the same thing. Let's do this real quick. And how are we doing on time? Wendy, can you help me out here?
Yeah, we're 5 minutes. These are folks coming in this time.
Okay. So, no, please hang up. When I talk to kids about this, it's a 2-part message, okay? So I'm going to Google Kevin Honeycutt, me, and I'm just going to give you something to think about, okay? So if I click that and click images, I'm not the only Kevin Honeycutt in the world. There's a guy in South Carolina that's always in jail. He's not me, right? But his name is Kevin Honeycutt. What I need to do is outpost him so people don't Google and go, that's the guy? Good grief, he's a criminal. There's a doctor. There's a guy in charge of a company. This guy's coming on strong lately with his own blog, so he's starting to kick my tail in Google, in the Google equation. He's getting up there higher. So I'm not posting enough, probably. But as you start to scroll down, my whole brand and my career kind of comes out here. So the biggest thing is if you're trying to get noticed in the world, and I don't mean get noticed because you want to be popular. I mean get noticed because you want to be successful. You want to put your cash register where people can find it. If I Google it, I can't find you. You don't exist at all. Right? Crickets. The good news is you haven't done anything bad. Yay. The bad news is no one knows who you are. And if I say, you need to hire her, she's amazing, and they Google and go, Kevin, I spent an hour. I can't find out she exists. Was she a secret genius? Is she in prison? Why can't I find her public stuff? I'm like, I don't know. I find a lot of people, I call them secret geniuses. So by the way, if you're a teacher, you need resources, you need stuff, you need people. And to me, that's other teachers around the world who tried it last year and it was very successful, this thing that they're doing with whatever that app is. It kind of grows you if you're connected to people. I think of it like this. On Instagram, all the people I'm connected to, on everything that I'm connected to, it's a jar of lightning bugs. And the world is dark. And the more lightning bugs I have, the more I can see. I have a lot of lightning bugs. And by the way, I can invite you to the jar if you want. But don't be over there in the dark. You know what I mean? Kids are in the back seat and you're driving and you can't see. Mm-hmm. Put on the high beams, baby. You need to see down the road. You need stuff. Talk to me. Tell me who you are.
My name is Mandy Fields. I'm an instructor here, assistant professor in the Department of Science.
And what?
Science department.
Science. All right. Good. And you came in. You came in. I'm going to ask you why in a minute. Yes, and you?
Ann Mills, assistant professor of biology.
All right. So is it the same Ward Science Hall? It's not called Ward anymore, is it? Those stairs. Oh, gosh. But yeah, spend some time over there. So what made you come in here?
Well, the Norwood Jones Covenant event, and I trust my administrators that they pick good speakers, and so I'm always curious to see what they've chosen for us.
I'm going to try to rise to the occasion. So listen, I'm going to invite you, and this first session, I'm not even a tenth of the way done. It just, that's how it goes. But hit me on Instagram. I'll give you the whole presentation. I'll send you a link, I promise, okay? If there's anything I can do, let's say that you want 5 great connections for your filmmaking. I know people. I'd love to connect you, and I'll take the time to do that tonight. I don't have friends. It's okay, right? If there's something I can do for you for your next step. First, Marcy Penner has forgotten more about what I think you're going toward than anyone that I know. And
Doing some new things too. I've been seeing some posts.
I know
I've got her on a link. I've got her on some kind of before you leave August.
yay.
And Kevin, do you have a link to, you talked about you were presenting, you and another speaker presented, and, a lot of people left. Do you have a link? I kind of wanted to watch that.
Yes, yes. And see, let's say you're following me on Instagram, and I'm going to post all of these tonight, all of these again, and they're out there to find. Quickly, it'll take me just a moment to find that. And I think if you Google Kevin Honeycutt and click videos, you're going to be there. You're going to see them. But this one is the one that happened, you'll say New Zealand. And I've done a bunch of stuff in Australia. Okay. All right. Yay, now to this. Okay. So I've always struggled a little bit with college professors, and I'll tell you why. I did K-12. I did K-12 for 13 years, then I was on the school board for 10. I've been involved in education for nearly 30 years. I am a grizzled veteran. But I've got a bachelor's degree, so I go to a university to talk, and I'm talking about making real connections with kids. How do you get a kid to sit in the front row and care about your class? And she's going to succeed if she cares, and if she walks away, she won't. You know what I mean? It matters that they feel like they're connected to your class, and a lot of that comes from you. Your spirit, your soul, what you bring to the table. The fact that you're sitting in here trying to get new stuff tells me you're probably those kind of people, right? And I had those kind of professors when I was at Ottawa. Hey, thank you. I wish you the very, very, very best. Awesome. So anyway, this whole thing is about making those connections. So this is me on the school board at Inman, right? We're the Teutons, and I moved here. I didn't mean to stay there for my whole career, but I fell in love with this little town. It's a little Mennonite enclave. And I'm not a Mennonite, so I'm an interloper because I was a Baptist. Ooh. They're like, well, you can't go to heaven, but we can hang out with you. And that's okay. Our town motto felt kind of judgy. It was judge first, lest you miss your chance. So I was out there. The kids in the trailer park, that's my clientele. Those are the kids I connected with, resonated with, and worked with as the art teacher. I picked art because no one bothers the art teacher, because the art teacher scares some people. And then there I can bend the system to match the kid. I don't have to bend the kid to match the system. So I knew I could do that, and I did that. I got away with it in a small town. So we're the Teutons. That's me and my wife. That was taken in Martin Hall in 1986. Look at that Madonna dress, man. You can tell, right? Look at that haircut. It looks like, and I borrowed that suit,
And
man.
are those black lace gloves I see?
They are. She drove all the way to Kansas City to buy that dress. And I borrowed the suit from my roommate because I didn't have a suit. I didn't have a tie, right? I'm the first Honeycutt to graduate high school in living memory, and here I am at OU. Scared to death with my dyslexia. I have learning disabilities. I have ADHD. Can you tell? I'm medicated. This is as good as it gets. And I'm sitting there thinking, if my grades go down below C, I'll go back to the trailer park in Pomona, where I'm from. I'm not going back there. I've done poverty. I'm done with that. But I can't learn. How do I learn? Literally, I had to sit in that chair in Price Hall, that used to be here, and read everything 3 times to get a C, just for comprehension. And I took notes all 3 times. I'm up all night. No one knew. I was teaching myself how to learn, and it was excruciating, right? And it's the crazy teachers, the ones I loved. Doc Lewis, man, he used to take out lithium, and he'd be talking, and would start dripping fire, right? Because you've never seen lithium back then, right? It's going choo, choo, and everywhere it lands, it starts a fire, okay? And we all screamed. He did that every year just to make sure you didn't fall asleep in his class. You didn't. But that's the kind of professor that I remember that connected with you in a way that you kind of loved them. You know what I mean? You're sitting in the front row and you never do that. And it's all because of that person and the way they're talking to you and treating you. So I meet this woman. I take her out to a fancy restaurant. We were down, what was that restaurant down there next to the gas station across from, we were at McDonald's, I think. Anyway, so yeah, I spent a lot of money. I'm talking my line of bull, and I'm a good talker. Now think about this. Kids who come to you, no matter what their deficits are, they always have strengths. And we don't always look for those. What are those strengths? If a kid survived poverty and trauma, they probably can talk, right? So how do you let them talk? I was always being told, shut up, shut up, shut up, you talk too much. Guess how I get paid? I freaking talk, and I get paid well. So, right? So maybe it's okay. I'm talking to her, and she looks across the table and says, you do realize that I know you're full of it, right? I'm like, what? I could always woo any girl because I can talk. Not her. Oh, she saw right through. And I said, I'm going to marry this girl because she's smart. 2 syllables, small heart, right? So I asked her to marry me. I said, will you marry me? She said, we'll see. We'll see. That's not the same as yes. 6 years later, we got married. We were engaged 6 years because she test drove this because she knew where I was from. Trailer park, foster homes, poverty. I watched my dad beat up my mom. She wasn't going to be next. My wife had the strength to not let me be that. She said, if you ever hit me, I'll kill you in your sleep. And she smiled when she said it, like she's looking forward to it. I never hit my wife, but I did hurt my wife with words. Words hurt too. It took me a long time to realize that I had come from this trauma and I still had scar tissue. You have to acknowledge that. If you don't, it will come and get you. My sister's an alcoholic. My other sister went to jail for meth distribution. My brother's been in and out of prison. They didn't acknowledge the trauma and put it away. I wrote a book about it. I deal with it, right? And you have kids like this who are hanging on. You have kids who come here and wash out. I remember some of them, right? They just, something weird happened. They just couldn't quite handle it. They didn't find home base. And sometimes it's you crazy people. And if you have one kid, you probably got 2, 3, 4. You probably got a caseload who come, right? I love the psychology department. I tutored for the psychology department. I just loved those professors. I just felt at home there, right? So people look for that home base, and I hope it's you guys, right? So that's me and her, and this, we move out to Inman, Kansas, where I become junior high football coach. I'm coaching football. I never played a sport. My whole life I never played a sport. You know why? Kids from poverty don't get shoes, and shoes have to match the rest of the team. That was my barrier. God, why don't people tell you that? Here's what they should have said. Kevin, if you lead sprints and 2-a-day practices, we'll buy your shoes. I'd have been your best runner. But that offer was never on the table, so I wasn't allowed to tell you it was the shoes. I just had to not try out. So certain teachers just assumed he's one of those kids, punk, druggy. I wasn't any of those things. I just couldn't afford the shoes. There's a barrier. Sometimes you got to ask yourself, why is the kid doing this? Why is he acting this way? There's always a reason. I'm not trying to say lower the bar, lower your expectations. I'm not saying that. There's something going on. I'll give you, for instance, a good friend of mine, Jim Sporliter. How many of you are familiar with the trauma-informed movement? Are you familiar with the ACEs test?
Yes.
Right. So my score is a 9, if you know what that is. That's pretty high, right? Now that's adverse childhood experiences, what's happened to kids, and it adds up to how long you live, how well you do, your success. If we don't look at scar tissue, we can't know how to help kids navigate. I'm not saying kids can't succeed, but they have to know what they've been through and leverage it. Here's what I say. Dance with your demons, but lead. Your demons might write your book. They might write your song. They may write your poetry. They may reaffirm your work ethic, but don't let them take you down. Don't let them drive. Don't let them drink. Don't let them... I spent my life not doing that, not doing that. That's the difference between me and my brother, who I love and I pray for. But I became a sociologist and I care about these things and I want to help kids make it out too. The best way out of darkness, kids, is to make your own light. And you can do that. If you're busy helping other people, you don't have as much time to do stupid things. Right? They say idle hands are the devil's playground. Idle digital hands are faster. So what are we giving them to do? What are we assigning them to do? What great work can they do? I'm coaching junior high football. I love junior high because they don't even know what they don't know. Kid comes into practice, the first day he had his cup on backwards. It's back here. It's like, Mr. Honeycutt, this doesn't feel right. I said, what are you trying to protect there, son? Okay, so first game of the season, junior high football. I'm calling in a play. By the way, there's no Google back then. This is a long time ago. I just read in the book, about the play. So I call in my first play. Whole town is watching. I go like this, 4-2, strong side, go. 4-2, strong side, go. And the kid Jordan's on the field. He's like, no. I'm like, can he wave me off like that? In front of the whole town, he can wave me off like? I got 2 more plays. I hope he picks one. 4-2, weak side, go. He went, no. I'm like, okay, down to the last play, ready? 4-2, double go. He said, yeah. Ran the play, got a touchdown. First play of the game. So I grabbed him by the face mask. I said, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to dance around the sideline, acting like I'm calling in a play. You just do whatever you like. We were 7-1. I played everybody. I think it's okay. You don't have to know everything, This is my kid, Ben Honeycutt. And he's a unicorn. You probably know people like this. You might be someone like this. I don't know. I said, what do you want to be for Halloween? He said, exit sign. I had to make that costume. We won the costume contest in Inman, Kansas, but everyone looked at him and rolled their eyes. I said, that's that Honeycutt kid. That's the art teacher's kid. And they judged my kid for the rest of his life in a small town. Small places can kill big minds. Write that on something. Small places can kill big minds, and it depends on who you are. You can go to college here. It's not a big place. It doesn't have to be a small place. It all depends on the people that you choose to hang out with and the kids you choose to inspire. He's growing up in this town, right? This kid of mine. In 5th grade, I got a different job. I got this job. Go talk to people. It was an opportunity. So suddenly I wasn't his art teacher anymore. And he didn't know he had lost all his authority because Dad was gone. And he kept acting like I taught him. Right? That what you do unto the least of these, you do unto me. And he stood up for the underdog. And he stood up to people who were bullies to the underdog. And then he became the target. He stood up to a kid who was being mean to another kid. And he said, do you want some of this? And so him and his friend made my kid their project for the next 3 years. And they bullied him almost to suicide. Every day they called him faggot and loser and wouldn't let him sit at the boys' table and just basically took away everything he was that I built into him and made him doubt himself. Those 2 kids were the superintendent's kid and the principal's son, the ones who won all the citizenship awards. I think you can be Jesus in the classroom and Hitler on the playground. And what I tell kids is, be good wherever you go. What's wrong with that? Right? I don't mind social media because I can Google you, and if you've been a jerk somewhere, I will know. And I tell kids, if you're mean online and you think no one knows, imagine your worst enemy screenshotting every stupid thing you've ever done, and they're saving it for when you run for governor. And they all get nervous. I see them go, and I see usually these girls lean away from that one girl. She's all by herself. I don't want to do what you do anymore. I don't want to do what you do anymore. But no one's talking to these kids about what they do, what they choose to do, and why. See, you're going to do great things with your life, or you're not. Kind of depends on what you're doing now. I tell kids, don't pee in the pool and ask why it's warm. You did that. Stop doing that. What I want you to do is start posting your passion, your dreams, why you want the world to be a better place, why you come in here to try to make better connections with kids. I love you for that. You know what I mean? It's not a small thing to me. I want to see your soul. I think if Jesus was on social media, he'd be posting it up. I think of the things he would say. What would the Sermon on the Mount look like on Instagram? He would be there. He didn't hang out with the Pharisees. He hung out in the common places with normal people, right? And he would be there in these places, making a difference, being the only person who liked your daughter that night that mean girl said an awful thing about her, and 100 kids clicked like, and she wanted to hang herself until Jesus said, no, they don't know you. I know you, and I know your soul. You're a beautiful, perfect person, and she doesn't do that. I want to anoint our kids to be that person, that Savior. I'm worried. Dark times right now, you know that. So I'm sorry, you shy, beautiful people, you got to be louder. You got to be louder. You got to tell your story. My kid goes off to become a teacher. He joins the family business, poverty. So there he is. He went to KU, and it was $100,000 to send him to KU, but I had saved up $13,000 in my teacher payroll deduction, so I had lots of money. So anyway, so he's going to make what, $37,500 to start after paying that much, and I love him. What we say in my family is, caskets don't have luggage racks. Spend it while you're here. And I love him. He took off, and it's just me and my wife, right? That's my wife over there. I'll show you again. And she's wonderful. We go to some place and she gets carded for alcohol, and they ask me if I want the senior discount. She's like a year and a half younger than me, but she looks so much better. It's just the way life works. Okay, so when he left, my wife got weird. She starts collecting animals. She had empty nest syndrome. We only had one kid. We tried for more. We had a hard time. We lost 6. So we were just blessed to have one. And we tried and tried and tried and tried. So just us. So my wife starts collecting dogs and cats and turtles and rabbits, and she's building a zoo in my house. And I said, sweetie, you're building a zoo. I said, I know what you're doing. You're backfilling the emotional hole left by the departure of the child. I get it. I'm enough. It turns out I'm not enough. So I thought, I'll date her again. I'll take her to concerts. I'll act like we're back in college. So I did. I took her to Fleetwood Mac and Styx and REO Speedwagon and all these bands. We're in the front row. We're acting like kids again. I get one of these things called a chair and a half. You can Google it. It's a thing. You and your spouse can both fit in there. Rub your socks, get your wine on, get your Netflix. Things are good. She's coming back. It's like we're just dating again. It's awesome. And then she comes in with this. I'm 49. She walks in with that. 22 years between siblings is optimal spacing. I just look at my face like, what? And the right answer is, yay! That's not what I was feeling. I was like, oh no, what are we going to do? So, so I get to do the whole thing again. And this is my life now. I've got an 8-year-old and a 30-year-old. And God has a sense of humor. And it's exhausting, When you carry a kid around, you're on the floor all the time, it's hard when you're my age. I've seen Jesus 3 times. He's like on the stairs going, you're almost here, just step through. You're almost there, step right through. I'm like, Yahweh, I can't die. I've got this kid to raise now. I told my wife, do you know how old I'm going to be at his high school graduation? She said, you'd be that old anyway. How come women can be accurate without being helpful? I'm like, I know I'll be old. I'm like, congratulations, sonny. She said, I know you'll be old. Why are you a minor 49er in this scenario? I only have one old man voice. Look, my mule. That's my life, man. And here he is. What do you want to be for Halloween? Guess what? Ceiling fan. Don't call him a helicopter. He'll get mad. Ceiling fan. He's a ceiling fan. So, oh my gosh. So there they are at my son's wedding. He was the ring bearer. He looks exactly like Ben at that age. It's like that. They were separated, these two twins, and that egg sat in that ovary for 22 years, aging to perfection. And now suddenly he's out in the world. And yes, he's me. My wife said, oh my gosh, this one's you. We have to get strategies in place now. I know he has ADHD. I know he does, but he's also infinitely creative. I can't send him to just any school. If you deconfirm my child, if you cut the horn off my unicorn, I'm not okay with that. I like him the way he is. I let that happen to my first one. I was shy. I was a colleague. I should have stood up. I should have stood up. I am now. I'm curating his education. I love public school. I believe in public school, but my wife's a certified teacher. She's at home. So guess what? We teach him at home, but not just that. We take him to a school called the Real Red Riding Hoods. You got to look at this on Instagram. Guess what I do? I take him out to Cheyenne Mountain, drop him off at a trailhead. He's 7. And they go hiking up the mountain, then they learn outside all day. They climb mountains they climb cliffs with professional climbers. They forge streams and big hip waders, and they learn about nature. They could get eaten by something, or it's scary a little bit. But you know what? I want my kid to touch the world, right? He goes to conservatory. I'm an old man now. I know what's important. I named him Gibson after the guitar. I don't care what you think. I'm an old man. I will do as I please. He's an interesting cat. This guy has his own online store. I do a whole lot with him being an entrepreneur, financial literacy, stuff I did in my wife's classroom. Oh my gosh. So he's my little artist too. So I had this. My kid went to college and I bought a Camaro because I'm from the trailer park. Then we had this, right? And here's life. And now I drive that. So I'm back, baby. I'm just going to be a dad again. And it's okay. Going to soccer practice, going to baseball, going to t-ball, all of that stuff. I'm back and I'm proud to be doing that. So how am I going to raise this little dude? By the way, he made that costume. That's a pair of underwear on his head. He's Owlette from PJ Masks. Anyone know? Anyone got kids, grandkids? Okay, cool. All right, so I could raise him like a 1940s paper boy and nobody would fault me. Why is that Honeycutt kid so unhireable? Oh, his dad's that old man, poor child. He never had a chance. Raises him like it's 1980s or something. I could raise him like this. Have you seen this? The digital pacifier. Shut up, here's my phone. Shut up, here's my phone. I will not do that. I see this all the time. I hand him my phone. He's watching Blippi videos, and 3 clicks later he sees a beheading. You can't put this on cruise control. We got to be there. I meet teachers all the time who quit 10 years ago. They just don't know it. They stopped at the flip phone. But you still teach kids. What do kids have? They have a smartphone. You're not even on the same playground with them. And you're proud of that? Get back in the game, man. These kids need role models, right? Step through the veil and be a mentor in this space. Be there. Yes, I'm on YouTube. I have 1.9 million hits on my YouTube channel. I'm proud of that. You know what I publish? Guitar lessons. You don't like them? You don't have to watch them. Art lessons. I got 110 free drawing lessons you can have anytime you want. I share with the world. People say mean things, and I teach kids this. If someone says something mean about what you did, look for their body of work. You know what you'll find? Nothing. Destroyers don't create. 3 words. Ignore the ignorant and move on, right? Our kids are living in a mean world, and if they get deconfirmed, talked out of who they are, they'll never be what they could have been, So they got to be brave. Teflon. Don't let things bother you, So I leave that stuff out there so people can see it. I need them to have success and happiness and to be able to chase these dreams. What does that mean? Well, I think this ADHD is a real thing. So here's what I say to kids. I bet you've got people that you met like this that are like me. In my brain, there's 110 channels on my TV, and I don't have the remote. They're all on at the same time. Think what that feels like. It's exhausting. My closet has all the same clothes as you, but they're all on the floor. Every time I put an outfit together, it's the first time. Nothing's on a hanger, not in my brain. But I'm creative. You got to solve a problem, you want me. I bet you have people like that in your life. I think Wendy's got a secret part of her life that might be this way. Here's what I tell kids. You have ADHD, and this is my invention, or automatic divergent harmonious discernment. What's that? Oh, what a gift. See, it's a gift. You can have many ideas at the same time. You can see through overlapping ideas and spot new combinations of possibilities others have never glimpsed. What we have to do now is build you a set of strategies to help you interact with people who can't see what you see or think like you can. We must protect your gift, and when you really start to harness your powers, I can only imagine what you will become. I think some of our best inventors in this country had ADHD. See, here's what happens. You're teaching me something, I can see the worksheet. You're teaching me something second hour, the two worksheets do this, and I see overlaps that you don't even see. That's how I invent stuff. Accidentally, stuff just presents itself. I want kids to own this, not be embarrassed. So here's what ADHD looks like. The teacher says, Kevin, I want you to memorize these 3 shapes. Blue circle, yellow triangle, red triangle, right? And she asked this girl who doesn't have ADHD, what do you see? I see a circle, a triangle, and a triangle. Good job, Stacy. Kevin, what do you see? I see all of that. If you look at those 3 shapes and overlap them, are all my shapes there? What grade do I get from the system, usually? F. She didn't ask for all that. I actually outknew the teacher. I should be Mensa, shouldn't I? Shouldn't I be gifted? But not in our world. So I'm out there telling teachers this, one room at a time, and guess what? I get paid for that. I am unlocking the cell doors in the prisons of kids' minds. You're welcome. That's what I do when I wake up in the morning. That's what I live for. What colors did you see, Stacy? Blue, yellow, and red. I saw blue, yellow, red, white. White, yes, the paper, duh. I saw an orange octagon, combination of the 2 triangles overlapping, and the combination subsequent of the colors. You're welcome again. I saw a near-perfect black combination of all the colors at the same time, and I saw this shape here that has all the colors represented and the shapes simultaneously. Whew. Am I smart? Can you imagine trying to get credit for that? Where's that on the grade card? It just looks like a mess, right? Oh, he's so creative. He's just creative. They used to call me busy. You're just busy. Kevin, you're so busy. You just calm down. I can't. Stop telling me that I'm not a good person, right? So this is what I think happens when kids go to school. They come home and you say, what did you do in school? And what does she say?
Nothing.
That's every time, everywhere I go, and it breaks my heart. She didn't do nothing. She did great things. It just doesn't thread together very well. Like, let's say you have a great teacher and she's a storyteller, and you come home and you tell her story word for word at the dinner table. She wrote on you with permanent ink in a good way. But you've got art, you've got science, you've got math, and none of it goes together. And so it jerks you all around. Remember when you play an album and you knew the next song? And then we had random shuffle. Now you never know the next song. And that's how education is it doesn't go together like a story. You can't rewind it easily. But it's the great teachers who are rewindable. It's the Doc Lewises who set the room on fire. That's rewindable. So how do we make our instruction rewindable, right? Refindable. So kids want to talk about it, want to think about it. Humanize. How do you do that? This is my old house. I was recently in Johnson County, Tennessee on a grant, a family engagement grant. If you find anything like that, let me know. I got to go to all the schools in Johnson County and talk to all the elementary kids, cross-legged on the floor, and I'm anointed at this point. God is talking through me. I'm not worthy of this. I'm back at my house. That woman lives there now. I came up, I was going to take a picture of my old house, and she was standing there in her bra and panties. I can't take a picture, that'd be porn, right? So I had to walk up. This was awkward. I said, hi, this is my old house. I just want to take a picture. Could you put on a shirt? She did. That's her cleanest, dirty shirt. And I gave her my book, and I told her I used to live here. And the lady who hired me called the guy who owns the trailer park, who's the same guy, by the way, slumlord, highest degree. By the way, she pays $175 a month for this house. It has 3 working outlets and 1 light that works in the ceiling. Just beyond those stairs, there's a giant hole in the floor, and if you're not looking, you'll fall through. He's still getting $175 a month. Not a very nice person. The lady who hired me calls him and says, would you like to kick in some money to pay for this guy? He's coming to give hope to our students. He's hung up on her. He's got his own plan, you know. But that's okay. That's okay. So I get to talk to these kids, and I just feel like, oh, you know, if everything in your life goes the way you want it to, you're going to end up in a weird place that's going to feel strange, and you're going to feel a little bit scared. But that's God saying, this is who I want you to be. Your life coach was right. Own that moment. Move into this. First time I was on a big stage, I can't tell you how scared I was. I'm like, I don't belong here, I don't belong here. And then I thought, no, God put me here. Who am I to say no? Just like that. Who am I to say no? And also the person who hired me, I have their authority for the first 5 minutes, and if I own this room, I'll be back. I get to do it again. Every time. So it was a small room, maybe 200 people, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 10,000 in a stadium. I'm dying. I got video. I'll show you my video backstage of me going, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. I feel like I'm going to poop, pee at the same time, you know? And I do it again, and I do it again, and it's never me. I wish I could say it's me. It's not. But I had a teacher, and he was the opposite. This is how I know what good teachers are. I had one teacher who wasn't. He hated me. And I know he hated me. I was 16. My father had drowned in Pomona Lake that summer. So suddenly we're not moving. I went to school in 20 states because Dad was always breaking the law, and we moved. It's my book, Midnight Run. Suddenly he died, and we're stuck in Pomona. I'm not going to move again. And I had this teacher who just, I talk too much. I joke too much. I'm too jocular, to use a word. Does anyone ever use that word anymore? Jocular sounds like jock itch. It sounds really bad. But anyway, he found me too jocular. I'm always telling jokes. Now here's what he should have done. Kevin, if you get your grade up above a C, every Friday the last 3 minutes will be your comedy set. I'd have done it. I'd have done it gladly. I'd have been his best student. He didn't invite what I'm good at to his room. Wasn't allowed. I'm the funny person in here. I dispense the comedy. I said, when will you start? I kind of had it coming. So one day I tell a joke, and everyone laughs, and he just loses it. And he grabs me like this by the neck, picks me up out of my chair, carries me to the hall. And I'm like, what's going to happen in the hall? And I'm like, he's going to get fired. And then I realize he's not going to get fired. He's thought this through. My mom and dad don't come to parent-teacher conferences. Dad's gone. Mom's the janitor. She's not coming. So I don't matter. And I know I don't matter. Now that's scary. He screams at me in the hallway. You're trying to get my goat, aren't you? Anyone ever say something to you so old-fashioned you don't even know what it means? I said, Mr. H, I don't know what's going on between you and this goat. And frankly, that's none of my business. He lost it. Picks me up and slams me on the terrazzo. Knocks the wind out of me. I'm like, he said, you don't matter. You will pump my gas. See, back a long time ago, people worked at the gas station. They put the gas in for you. They didn't get paid very much. That's what he thought I could be. So when I came to Ottawa University, that's the last teacher advice I'd gotten. And I sat down in that chair, and I hung in there like grim death, and I kept my scholarships, and I became the first honeycat to graduate college ever. I became a teacher. And guess what? I got my certificate, and I drove back to that school. And he was there. And I said, hi. He said, Kevin. I said, Mr. Hope. He said, what's going on? I said, I held up my teaching certificate. I said, hello, colleague. It wasn't that hard. Drop the mic. I tell kids this story on purpose because sometimes it's people's lack of belief in you that will motivate you. But don't let someone not believing in you define you. Don't live down to their expectation. Show them they're wrong. The best revenge is served cold. I served it up, baby. How are we doing on time? Am I out of time already?
No, you're good.
Oh, good. How much? 5, 10? Woohoo! So here's the thing I've learned. Teachers, this is everything in the world. Where kids sit matters. And they're telling you who they are. You sat pretty close to the front, right? So research would call her a policymaker. She's sitting up here to be closer to the instruction. She wants to be sunburned by the instruction. She's taking notes. She's here for a reason, and she's doing it. She's got a sub. You planned for a sub. Of course you're writing stuff down, right? And you back there, you're not far back. And you guys, you're helping out. You're support people, so I get it. But typically kids who sit back there, they call them bystanders. And if you let kids sit where they want in your room, they'll tell you day one who they are. Your job is to get them here. The problem is there's not enough chairs here. Even if they wanted to come here, there's not enough. So what do? This is called the custodial arrangement of teaching, an accident of educational architecture. This was designed so a custodian could get a broom between chairs. It was never designed for optimal learning, and we're still, in many cases, doing this. How do we change this? What do we know about human nature? The movies. You go to the movies? Okay, the theater is raked. You can see above people's heads. The seats are offset, so you're between people. This isn't like that. You can easily hide behind her, and I was a teacher for a long time. If you hide behind her, I'll try to reach you. And I'm going to finally get tired and give up and let you get your D, right? I could do that. So what I always did, I scratched the wax, moved the chairs around. There's never worse than a third row seat in my room. Constantly, it was theater in the round, all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade. And I'm in the middle, and I have kids come up here and present. When they're shy, it takes a while, but by the end of the year, I've got them all talking, doing their theater, doing their Shark Tank pitches, because I want kids to know how to talk, because if they can't represent themselves, how can they succeed? I don't want them to be quiet. I don't want them to be shy, but not on day one, right? So this is my room, and I'm getting yelled at by the janitor. You scratched the wax. I'm like, that's why I'm here. My job is to scratch the wax. Your job is to fix the wax, I guess. I don't know, right? But the most important thing is that you all feel engaged. I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you, trying to make sure that we have this connection, and I'm feeding you a little at a time. I'm hoping, raise your hand if there's at least one thing I've said that you think you might remember. That's a brain splinter, and I'm not done yet. I've got a bunch more. How do I get kids to be here? Whatever it takes. Sometimes I act like I don't know. I'm an old man, you might believe me. And I'll say, let's pretend that you're really good at technology. You are, right? No, you are. So, but you're not engaged in my class. You're not engaged at all. But you love technology. I found out that's about you because I did the work. I did the homework. I find out who you are. And I say to you, tomorrow I'm supposed to show everyone this software called SketchUp. I don't have a clue. Can you check it out for me and let me know? So she's like, oh, Miss Tinycat, okay. So she'll do it for me because we have a relationship. She would not do it for me if we didn't. She comes back the next day and she's doing a tutorial at my desk. I've been using this software for 12 years. I'm really good with the software. I teach it, but not today. She's teaching me today, and she moves up to the front row to help me. I just moved her up one. Then guess what I do the next day? Can you show the class how to use that? Because I'm really embarrassed because I don't know how. She's like, Mr. Honeycutt, do I get your paycheck too? She got attitude about it. Now she's up there. First one in her family to ever be there. You go home proud and excited. And your mom calls me and says, should we test her for gifted? Do you think she could be gifted? I'm like, sweetie, that's awesome, but it's one victory. She's walking upright. You're welcome. Let's not lose our minds. Cool. All right. But that's one. Zing! Hooked you and cooked you, baby. You're next. Now you. I got all year. I'm going to get you all. I'm going to get you all. Why wouldn't I try? I teach in juvie, juvenile detention, pretrial lockup. Who's taught there? You want to learn about this? It's exactly like staff development. A room full of people who don't want to be there, and one of them is going to shank you. It's the same gig, man. It's the same gig. First time I went into juvie, I'm going to teach these kids how to draw fluffy bunnies. Fluffy bunnies. You hold up your badge. They push a button. 2 sets of doors. When you're in. Stainless steel tables. You all got orange jumpsuits. 3 armed guards with Glocks. You're on. Go teach. I got paper. I got pencils. The guard comes over, takes my pencils. You can't bring pencils in here. I said, why? They stab each other. I said, oh, okay. He brought me these like rubber pencils. They're like floppy. I had to draw with like a rubber pencil. First thing I had to do is turn my back on the inmates. I'm like, today we're going to draw a 64 Chevy Impala. 3/4 view, leopard skin dash, Krager Max. Let's go. Okay, that's the day my brain went, I need help, but I don't have help. It just got me. I know what I'll do. I'll team teach with myself. What do I mean? I got a Xerox box. I cut the sides out, left the corners, cut the sides out, so there's light coming in. Then I put a piece of paper underneath. Cut a hole here, put my phone on it, hit record. Slid my paper in. I'm doing drawing lessons, 120 drawing lessons. And I take them back into juvie and I team taught with me. I launch the lesson and I walk around the room and I talk about meth and choices and faith. I never got a chance to be free like that until I freed myself with this thing. Why wasn't I doing this years ago? This doesn't have to be hard, right? So what happens? I mean, a lot of times we're professors in the front of the room teaching that same lesson how many times? And I did the same thing. I did. Then I started putting it on YouTube, and I'd say, oh, you missed yesterday? No, you didn't, sweetie. Put on headphones and watch a Great White Shark video, okay? I got a link. It's up on the board. Scan the QR code. Thanks. She's back to work. Then I started thinking, I don't have to make all the videos. There's tons of videos out there. I can start curating videos. So I did that. The pandemic taught me. Thank God I had done that, because I was ready. I was teaching classes at K-State, and all that stuff was happening on Zoom. Boy, did I learn a few things. Right? And I would have 100 students in the class. You know how many pages that is to toggle through? And I'm making Google Draw documents where the kids can do things together collaboratively, 5 at a time. So it's 5 and 5 and 5 and 5, 20 pages. And they're all working, and I got really good at this. I didn't want to, but you know how it goes. You became an expert because you had to, right? What's the front row seat look like on Zoom? How do you know? And I don't let kids turn off their camera. If I can't see your face, you could be hiding anywhere. Nope. No worse than a third row seat. That's how it goes. It's one of the kids I work with. Graduating. I made another me. He walked across the stage. And he's not easy. This is Bill. He's huge. He's dangerous. He's on parole for violent crimes and theft. He cut the tires of the superintendent and brags about it. He's dangerous. And he's my best student. Because this is what I always do. Hey, Bill, this is a dangerous room this year. You got my back? He's like, yeah. And I can tell he's like, does he not even know? And I do know. I'm not stupid. But if I don't treat him different, he's not going to be different. If I act like I know, he's going to live down to the expectation. So I treat him like he's the only one I trust. And guess what? He becomes that. He's very loud, though, when he helps me. Shut up! Mr. H is attempting to instruct. attempting to instruct. He's using labiodental fricatives. I'm like, wow. He starts painting houses with me. I teach him how to work a day. He finishes the summer. He starts his own painting company. He goes off and gets his associate's degree in graphic design and gets a job. Third generation welfare. He gets a job. And guess what? He guilted his whole family off the couch. You're welcome. Right? That's what I do. That's what teachers do. Get kids to want something bigger until that's who they are, right? We're their surrogate self-belief until they get their own. Gosh, how wonderful is this? I love this job. So this kid is in the classroom and he brings a lighter and he's lighting it in class. And the teacher says, give me the lighter. And the kid says, F you. Teacher says, go to the office. Goes to the office. The principal's there. This is my friend Jim Spoiler, who started the trauma-informed movement. He's a great guy. You got to get him to come. It changes lives. He says, what happened? Well, she took my lighter. She would try to take my lighter. He said, well, just put it in the box. You don't have to make a big deal out of this. He says, F you to the principal. What should he do? Out of school suspension, right? He needs more time at home. What Jim does is he just sits with him. Doesn't say a thing, just sits with him. Half an hour later, the kid finally breaks and says, Mr. Spoiler, last night I went home and my mom had moved without me. And all I have left from her is this lighter. There's a story. I swear to God, there's a story. Faith and grace. We all deserve it, right? Maybe they'll break, maybe they'll tell you, maybe they won't for a while. They've been through it, and they're really good at chaos. They have a really hard time with normal, right? That's hard for them. If you can give them something to do in your room that feels crazy, exciting, and dangerous, and it'll probably get you written up. It always got me that way. They'll love you if you just try to find a way to let them be amazing. There's a way, right? A real way. I wrote this book. This is Midnight Run. And if you go on my website, you can get it for free, and I would love for you to read it. I'd love for you to have your kids read it. I have a study guide in there, too. I do staff development around this book, but I'm not trying to sell it. You can go on Amazon and buy it if you want. If you scratch and sniff my book, it smells like mediocrity. That's a painting I did here at Ottawa University. Back then, I was painting my childhood, and this is a motel room that I stayed in as probably a 4-year-old, looking out the window at this dirty window. And so I sort of still working some of that toxicity out of me. Anyway, if this is interesting to anyone, you got it. If I can talk to your kids after they read it, I'd love to. Usually kids 3rd grade through 12th grade can read this book. It reads pretty fast. So I had a teacher one time, and she said something to me that kind of rocked my world, and I thought, I wonder how many people have had a teacher, an instructor, a role model say something to you that changed your life. How many of you could say someone in your life said something to you that changed your life? Anyone? Raise your hand if that's happened to you. Almost everyone I've ever talked to has at least one. It's a coach, a pastor, somebody said something to you that made you, that really stuck with you. I asked 60,000 people on Twitter, has this happened to any of you? And everyone said yes. I said, can we crowdsource a document of just positive belief statements? And they said yes. So if you scan that with your phone right now, if you turn on your camera and point it at that QR code, you will have my Google Doc of all of those 100+ positive belief statements. And I want to tell you what I think we can do with that. Let's pretend that you printed those off. I have one teacher who bakes them into fortune cookies. And then she gives them to kids, and kids open them up, and it has her name on it, and she signs them all. Another teacher just shakes their hand in the hallway, but has it in their hand, leaves it with them, and they walk away. And they never lose that, because that's their self-belief until they find their own. This silly thing right here. Let me know if it opens a link. Does it open a link for you?
Oh, I don't think I maybe a service. I'm not sure if I'm getting service.
Oh, okay.
Can't be found.
Let. Yeah, but you know what? I need to redo that because that's a Google Doc, and that was my old website, so this is my own fault. But I'm going to say it this way. I'm going to give you a list of resources when I'm all done here, and I'll have a link to that, okay? I just want you to know saying things can be a big deal. Now, let me give you, for instance, okay? Let's pretend that you're in my class, and you are a hot mess. You're a mess. No, you got to be a mess this time. You are a mess. I can spot my own kind. So I decided to read your palm. I don't know how to do this, by the way. I make this up, but you got to act like you know. So let's pretend I'm reading your palm. Okay, put your palm. Okay, and I'm looking. Wow, that lifeline is a mess. Your childhood is a mess. It's chaos. Some big things happened, but guess what? That's not who you are. You can be where you're from, but you don't have to be where you're from. This year, and I can see it right there, you start getting it together. You break up with that crazy boyfriend. You're welcome. And you find a guy who really cares about you. respects you, and you deserve that. You go to college? You go to college? I can't wait to bask in the glow of your greatness. I'll wear sunblock. I've had girls go to college because I read their poem. I don't care what you think about me. I'm not here to be liked by anyone. My faith became theirs, whatever it takes. How do you do that? How do you do that? You ever have a teacher just act like you were special, and you don't even know why, and you believe them somehow? Isn't that cool that that can happen? Wow. And you can do this anywhere, right? You can do this in church, you can do this in youth group, you can do this with any group of kids that you work with, right? I do a lot with music, and I'll do this tonight at 7 o'clock. I brought this guitar with me. I designed this guitar, and I'll tell that story just a little bit. But I find that music can be a big deal. Let me give you for instance. How many of you during the pandemic were stressed? Raise your hand. Own it, yeah. How many of you still have some residue of that, some scar tissue? I do these camps, by the way, I'm not trying to make money here. I do these camps in Divide, Colorado called Wild Heart Teacher Camps. 40 teachers at a time come to Divide, Colorado. Guess how much we charge for 2.5 days? $50. Do you know why? Because I do corporate retreats and we put that money into a fund that pays for teachers. This is my favorite work of my life. Teachers come and they open up about what the pandemic did, and they lost their mom, or they lost their grandma, and they cry, and they lost their mojo, they lost their moxie, their magic, their teaching spark. And they're talking to their sisters and brothers, and they write them on a piece of paper, all the things they lost. And then the second night, they put them in a ball and they throw them in the fire. And they let them go. And they come back again and they let them go 3 more times until they're gone. And then we do karaoke. I do karaoke that night. I do a couple keynotes. They go out and ride horses. They hike. $50. We feed them. And they go home and they're my family from now on. If this is interesting to anyone, you gotta let me know. I'd love to have you come. And you don't have to be a teacher to do this, right? You're just in a room full of great people, but I think what you do is steal that recipe and take that here. Have your own camps here, healing places where people can. There's a lot of scar tissue, I know. I talk to teachers all over the world, and we're negotiating some of that. And if you feel strong, good. Let's help other people. Let's help them feel strong. Let's see what I got here. See where I'm at. Because my guitar is back on stage, so I'll probably jump over that. And I'm going to tell this story. What do I have here? Am I done at quarter till? 5 minutes? Okay. I'm going to tell a story about a tool that I've been using that anyone can use anytime. I'm working with this girl here, and she's a mess. She's in trouble all the time, and I'm the only person that likes her on the faculty. People say mean things. I don't like her. She's in junior high. We're allowed not to like them? If this was the emergency room, would we act this way? You broke your leg. Why don't you sit down and think about what you did? Fix the leg, man. It's not our job to judge. Fix the leg. She's got some issues, but you always notice something. She's got something. Guess what? She's a poet. Every time I see her, she's got a handful of sweaty poems on loose leaf paper. She never lets go of it. So I know that's her passion. So if I can help her with her passion, I might get a door into helping her. So I go on Twitter and I say, does anyone know how I can make a big deal out of this girl's poetry? And 60,000 people later, someone said lulu.com, Lulu.com. I said, what's that? Self-publishing for free. You get a free account. You upload your PDF or Word document. You choose cover art. You click, what kind of book do you want? Spiral bound, coffee table quality, photo book, everything in between. You publish it, and you can decide the pricing. Maybe it's $9.99 to release it. You upsell that thing about $1, so you make $1 per book. You still make more than a lot of publishers. So I did that. I published my own book really quickly, and the next day I said, hey, you're a poet. Have you been published? She said, no. I said, would you like to be today? Maybe. Do you have those on a computer? Uh-huh. I said, well, just after school, we'll publish your first book. So we did. We published her first book. It was called Saving Me, Poetry from My Heart. 10 pages in paperback, her first published work. And here's the cool part. The minute you click publish, you have a legal copyright. She's a published author with worldwide distribution and a legal copyright. In 5th grade, she had nothing in her life. And now she's the only published author in that building, including teachers. Good day? Oh yeah, I live for this. Seeing a kid launch, they leave scorch marks on the tile. I'm hurrying to the school to give her her book because she can't afford it. She priced it at $24.95 for 10 pages. I couldn't afford it. I said, can you mark it down? I'm a teacher. I need it to be cheap. She marked it down to $5.52. I'm on my couch with my credit card having this surreal moment. Yesterday, this didn't exist. Today, there's a new book in the universe by her, and I'm buying it. Hard to believe, right? I hurry to the school, and I've got her book in my hands. I walk up behind her. She's at her locker. I go, holding her book. She turns around slowly and floats to me. Takes it from my hands with the reverence of a Bible. Holds it open in the hallway and says, "I misspelled everything." Suddenly, inexplicably, she cares about spelling. Why? Because she's a published author. She said, "How do I revise?" You ever have a moment in school you're like, I can't breathe, oh my gosh. Honey, click revise, download your manuscript, make your changes, re-upload, republish. She did. She republished her book. She starts a writer's club without permission. Imagine. Now all these other kids are becoming copyrighted authors, and we started thinking, wow, we should have like literary Grammys, where we have a red carpet, rent a limousine, let the kids come down the red carpet, moms and dads are paparazzi taking pictures while the TV news is here. I've done this and had the TV news there. And the kids suddenly realize that writing is important. And they're in all the classrooms at the podiums reading from nonfiction and fiction and descriptive, persuasive, all the different forms of writing, and they don't even know it's curriculum. They're just famous authors. I've done this all over the world. And I've had teachers lose their minds over this stuff. This teacher in Wisconsin starts a high school program where the kids write a book, and they become, by the way, you get the t-shirt when you finish the book, it says Real Writer, and you only get this if you're an author. And they do the Grammys, they do the whole thing, all of it. Well, guess what they had in their town about 4 years ago? They had a mass shooter. And he went in the bank and he shot the lady behind the counter and killed her. And so I want to show you what happened next, okay? Because they didn't tell the story at all. They were secret geniuses, so that I made them do this little documentary that you're about to see. And then I'll let you loose after this. The writing teacher worked with the art teacher. They never do this. Schools never let you do this. No, we're busy with our thing. We're busy with our thing. They came together and just did this and let the kids be the illustrators. If you find this book on Lulu, you'll see that all sales go toward a scholarship in her name. Imagine you're a child in this class and this is your legacy. This is your resume. Would this change you? Kids are asking to do things that matter. What if we let them? I was in Nebraska. The woodshop teacher said, "I have a project my kids are doing. It's probably nothing," he says. I said, "Tell me about it." He said, "Well, my boys found out there's a program at the hospital where the kids go when they're going to die. And they know they're going to die." He said, "My boys, they want to make memory boxes for the kids with their name on it. So mom and dad can put their toys and their stuffies and their beloved things in there." High school kids. Kids want to be great. They want to do good things. What if we let them? What if we got in trouble because we didn't cover curriculum? But we made their hearts change. What's more important? How many days of school did you go to that you remembered none of? Why do you remember what you remember? It mattered. As you said, you want to make a difference, right? We can do that. I'm going to do more stuff and more breakout sessions today and tonight really kind of get into the heart of the matter, but a lot of my stuff is just about why we do what we do and how important it is. Thanks for staying awake the whole time. I think I'm out of time. Yes? No? Maybe? Sort of? Connect with me on social media. You want a link to any of this? You got it, okay? Hi.
Did you work in the field then? So Heaven, my life coach told me when you were talking about the ladies crumbling up, or the teachers, he told me, so I have a lot of issues with brain fog, and so he's told me spring is renewal. He said, so you are going to visualize, you're going to write a letter, you're going to visualize brain fog. I'm sending you into the wilderness. Okay, what did brain fog teach you? So